Greetings all, welcome to Everything Borrowed, where we sit down to share stories and have conversations with entrepreneurs to artists and everyone in between. Today's episode is powered by Blake's Hard Cider, 100% fresh pressed, all natural and gluten-free, straight from our family's 75-year-old farm in Southeast Michigan. Find us in your local grocer or have Blake's direct shipped to your home by visiting blakestore.com. Use promo code EverythingBorrowed to receive 10% off your first order. Must be 21 years of age. Please enjoy mindfully. Hello, gang. My guest today is Crains, President and Chief Executive Officer of Crain Communications. In my opinion, one of the most trusted names in news. Casey talks us through his family company's humble beginnings, what started as his grandfather as a beat reporter in the early 1900s, to becoming one of the largest privately held media companies in the country, with 21 leading businesses, trade and consumer brands in North America, Europe, and Asia. Casey shares with us the acceleration towards digital media solutions in the face of COVID, how the industry has changed, how it has stayed the same, and how Crains continues to gain consumers' trust by just giving us the facts. Hope you all enjoy the show. Cheers. Again, thanks for coming out, because I know you. They were telling me that you actually are starting a show where you're interviewing, much more interesting people than myself, like billionaires and whatnot.
No, nonsense.
So what's that all about?
Nonsense. No, it's not a show. It's a series we're doing with Deloitte, coming out of our Newsmaker event.
Okay.
We had a lot of success. We normally during our Crains Newsmaker event, it's you're honoring one specific person. You're in a ballroom with 800 people. It's a 2-hour event. COVID came along, couldn't do that.
Right.
So I ended up interviewing all the newsmakers, and people are like, wow, that was really interesting. We'd love to hear about more of that. So we partnered with Deloitte. We're doing another 10.
Okay.
So
that's awesome. And they're in-person interviews. They're down at Crains Communication down in Detroit.
Yep, downtown. Gratiot Avenue.
Yep. So
we have a lot of land in front of our building, though. Maybe there's some farming we could do.
If you're interested, urban farming's a thing now. We're actually partnering with Carhartt to do an urban farming initiative.
I only want the alcohol part, though.
Okay, deal. That's fine. Right. We can do that.
Maybe a tasting room? I don't know, something.
Yeah, we can figure it out. But I don't always get media moguls to come through the farm a little bit, and I would say that
moguls.
Yeah, there you go. But I would say that Crains has a storied history, family business. It's amazing to see how you guys have grown. I feel like you have always been just kind of a beacon of business insight, and, to get in Crains is a big deal. A lot of publications don't quite have the weight that Crains, I feel, carries. So can you talk a little bit how it got started, your grandpa, great-grandpa?
Yeah, sure. It's funny being on this side of the questions, by the way. Yeah. I don't know how comfortable I am. We'll see how it goes.
All right.
If I get up and walk out, that's right. You hit my point. Similar to kind of the story. My grandfather, 1916, he was a reporter down in Kentucky, and really was covering for back then you'd write for a bunch of different newspapers. He ended up going up to Chicago, and he was one of the first guys to really pioneer business to business reporting. So he saw a need for people that wanted to buy stuff. So our model for 105 years has been put buyers and sellers together. That's what we do. So, Crains Detroit, we've got 20 brands across the world that do that for any industry you can think of. Manufacturing, plastics, automotive, healthcare, finance. We do trade shows in China. We do conferences in Germany. And all we're doing is putting buyers and sellers together. So It's been a lot of fun. The Crains brand, Crains Detroit business represents a little under 5% of our global revenue. But everybody always looks at the building downtown and they're like, oh, Crains Detroit.
Yeah.
I am very passionate about that brand. I'm from Detroit, born and raised in the city, and it definitely plays a special role. But I get my time pulled in a lot of different directions.
Yeah. So 5% of your total revenue. So how does Crains Communication break up their revenue? I know.
So you just think about it. We're like an umbrella company. So we have 20 different companies, 20 different brands. We've got a company that covers data for staffing companies in Silicon Valley. We've got a German language automotive newspaper in Munich. We've got medical publications or medical brands in Chicago. So kind of all over the place.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And did you always want to be in the family business? Were you charting, your whole life?
This is where we have to start pouring the alcohol.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I watched my dad do what he did for so long, and it never looked like work.
Yeah.
And that's what he always told me. He's like, if you love what you do, you don't have to do this, but if you love what you do, you're never going to feel like you go to work. And I got out of school. I remember I was in school, and he called me one time and was like, "So, what are you going to do when you graduate?" And I was like, "Well, I'd love to come work for the family business." He says, "Okay, well, what do you think you could do to help our business?" And it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, I got a lot to learn, obviously, but I consider myself a people person. I love cars. Maybe I can go to sales for automotive news or autoing. I said, no, you're going to be a reporter. And I was like, okay. Not having done very well. Yeah. Not having done very well in writing, never had a journalism class, but okay. So anyway, you figure it out. I took 2 classes in journalism. I took a bunch of summer school, some night classes, and I started in journalism at Automotive News.
So kind of starting at the ground level, were you, what type of reporting, was it off the bat though? Were you doing just business reporting? Were you,
So we're lucky. We don't have to muck around with all this political reporting, all that stuff that's out there. Like, we are hardcore business to business. That's what we do. Yeah. In automotive, we cover what's happening in the industry. We the hiring, the firings, who's buying what company.
Just the facts.
Just the facts. Man.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've found in the last 3 years, I don't know if this is everyone, but it feels like one of the few places I can still get news that I feel is unbiased is through, a business lens, and, because you're just kind of getting the facts. You're getting kind of what the pulse is from, everyday working people, from business owners, from, corporations. You're understanding it a little bit less through, this politicized lens that I feel so much of mass media. And have you seen a growing, have you seen your business grow because of that? Because I can't imagine I'm the only one who kind of looks at that. Whether you look at Bloomberg and CNBC, now they all have their own, positions. But, you look at something like Crains, I always feel like it's coming to you more direct than most news these days.
Yeah, I mean, people love talking to us, and it amazes me. We have some of the most talented journalists, I think, in the world, especially covering some of the verticals we're in, and the sourcing they get. People love talking to them. People call them up all the time. I'm like, how did you get that? It's like, this guy calls me all the time, just wants to chat.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think that biasness, that tendency to just, tell it how it is. But that's how we sleep at night too, right? We never have to worry about, is the story factually correct? If it's not factually correct, somebody's getting in big trouble.
Right.
And it's not going to happen again.
Right.
Because as you can imagine, with all these different brands all over the world, somebody's usually pretty upset with me.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like what was written. And, I always say, tell me what was wrong about it. Right. Tell me what was factually. You did whatever it was, but tell me what was factually incorrect. And yes, there are different ways you can cover a story, but for the most part, I sleep pretty well at night knowing that whatever we reported was, whether they liked it or not, was factually correct.
How have you seen media change since you got into the business as a journalist to, running, Crains Communications today? Obviously it's went through a ton of, metamorphosis and continues to get, I think the change becomes quicker and quicker. But can you talk us through that journey a little bit as you've viewed it?
Yeah. I wonder what walking through hell would be like. No, I mean, you've seen journalism get disrupted more than any industry maybe on earth.
I think so.
And come out the other side, right? Mm-hmm. There are some great success stories. There's a lot of carnage left. I mean, you look at daily newspapers, it's super sad what's happening to them. Mm-hmm. People need journalism. People need the news. And, with daily newspapers going away, there's a lack of it. So you've got kind of the Goliaths that have made it through the New York Times, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal. They're doing really well. You've got hyper-local, some of the patch stuff, the next door, those things. But you're really missing that, local journalism. I think it's a role we can play in some of the markets we're in. But so that's one aspect of it, right? Mm-hmm. Just like total carnage across the industry. But then you think about the effect that technology's had. And for the folks that didn't pivot, one of my least favorite words, but you got to do it like crazy. Like we were hyper entrepreneurial before the internet came along. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're looking at the internet, you're watching it, and everything's upside down. And your model doesn't work as well anymore, and people can reach your audiences in different ways. So we've had to invest, the amount of money, tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars in technology, trying to create products that will reach our audiences in a way that fits with our model, that fits with what our clients are looking for. Mm-hmm. So we've had to evolve the business. We've come out the other side, and we're having a really good year this year. But I'll tell you, COVID was so good for our business. Mm-hmm. It wasn't great. Everybody had their own issues personally.
Of course.
Super tough time. But when it comes to, our digital plans, we were able to accelerate our digital strategy like crazy. I mean, it would have taken us 4 years, 5 years to do what we did in about 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even just, in our little world here out in the farm, just our plans to digitize, our experience. I mean, it pushed forward. We're doing
geolocation and apps
everything, and we'll run it out to your car, and you can order on your way home.
Make it easy for them to give you money, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And so I just feel that it kind of it expedited that for us in a meaningful way. And I have to imagine media it only exacerbated it. Now, kind of turning to the flip side, when you look at print and you look at that that world, I'm kind of old school. I like reading books. I like having paper.
Sure.
I don't know. Do you when you guys look at that, is that a piece of your offering and product offering forever? Is it a dying piece? How do you think about print anymore?
It's probably different than it was a couple of years ago. I feel like the decline of print for us specifically has slowed a bit. Mm-hmm. All of our growth has been in digital and audience, right? Getting people to pay for your products. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, print was the only thing we were strong enough or brave enough to charge people for. Everything online, it's free. We're trying to go after a bazillion eyeballs. We're going to compete with everybody. And we were wrong. Like, we had the wrong model. And forever, we've been a premium sell. And for some reason, when the internet came along, we thought, oh, no, we can, let's go scale. We totally reverted in that strategy, and we locked everything down. Mm-hmm. And we got hyper-focused. We invested in our journalism. We get people to pay for the content.
Yeah,
you're smiling because you probably get that paywall all the time.
Yeah, it worked because there were so many good articles that I wanted to, like when you first made that switch, because I don't know, it was 3, 4, whatever year, I don't know, time seems like irrelevant anymore because after COVID, everything just seems like forever ago. But I remember... And you got me one time, and I was like, I'm going to read this article. I'm just signing up. And I'm like, yeah, well, now I continuously am a subscriber. Yeah.
So, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
I'll make sure to buy some cider.
Yeah, there you go.
But, the interesting thing is, so before it was, okay, you got a website, we're going to charge you for content. Now it's, how smart can we be around data and analytics and understanding people's behavior and knowing why it was that story that you clicked on that got you to pull out your wallet.
Right.
And so we've got, teams now that are focused on that. And again, across 20 different brands with totally different media consumption habits. So when you ask about print, our print revenue is obviously down from what it was 20 years ago, but we didn't have a paid digital audience then.
Right.
We didn't have, the marketing services business. We didn't have digital events. So we've built out, totally diversified the business, and your margins obviously increase a lot.
Yeah.
Right. When you can transfer any of that revenue over to digital, your overhead goes down a little bit.
Sure.
And it gives you more opportunity.
For the working stiffs like me out in the the country here, you talk about digital products. Can you talk a little bit about, I think when we think media, it's like, I don't know, at a very cursory level, it's print, it's, online subscriptions, but I have to imagine anymore, it's so much more than that. So when you talk about your business, your revenue streams, or your different segmentations of how you look at your product offering, what is that, in total? Can you give us a little more rounded view of that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it. We've got print. You've got mobile websites.
Mm-hmm.
You've got desktop, right? Your traditional websites. All kinds of different apps. We've got data solutions. So we've got a finance product, and maybe you want to see where pension chief investment officers for pension plans have been investing over the last 5 years, and we've got subscription products for that.
Okay.
So it can vary anywhere from a digital newsletter or a paid newsletter all the way to a really robust data offering.
Sure. And
kind of everything in the middle.
Right. And to that point, when you think about the evolution of Crains, where do you see, you guys going into the future? I mean, are you getting into more, branded, unique content? Is it always just telling the story and that, or where do you see that evolution? Because I feel there's so many. Are you going to be the bar stool of the financial industry? That's a good idea, by the way. You should probably maybe take me up on that.
I think there's a couple of guys out there like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, I love the fact that you call it Crains. So the company's name is Crain Communications.
Right.
But everyone calls it Crains because it's like Ford's or Kroger's
or
whatever.
You got to, we need it simple. Yeah, that's right.
Crains. So, yeah, I mean, our future has never looked brighter. Like I said, coming off a decent year last year. I mean, last year was one of the toughest years. We've got a really, really strong culture, and we were able to rely on that to get through a tough year. But from a financial standpoint, we ended the year pretty good. Mm-hmm. And if you had told me in April that was what was going to happen, I would have signed up for it in a second. Mm-hmm. You fast forward to this year, a lot of learnings, got our cost structure down. we're super proud of the fact we didn't have to let anybody go last year. No furloughs, no layoffs. And the whole plan was let's get a jump start on next year, and it's working. And the first half has been terrific. We expect the same in the second half. But now we're looking at different acquisitions. Okay, so what else is out there that we could use? We've got these great platforms. How do we build on them? Right. So think about the way you consume media. Anybody consumes media. I talk about media consumption a lot because we're out here wherever we are. Where is it exactly?
Armada, Michigan.
Michigan.
So
somewhere between where and where?
So it's somewhere between Port Huron and Detroit.
Okay.
I think
beautiful.
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So you're out here, and you probably have your phone in your pocket all the time, and so you've downloaded our app. You have downloaded the app, right? Okay.
When we get service out here,
yeah,
we're still working on that.
And you get your alerts, and you check on the website every once in a while on your mobile phone. Somebody in Chicago might be commuting on the train, and maybe it's more video they want. Maybe they want more podcasts. We're constantly launching new podcasts, whether it's in real estate or finance or healthcare. So I think those habits just differ, by person. So we've got our traditional brands. We have the businesses we have today. We have to figure out how to make them better. Keep investing in journalism. Keep investing in new digital products, new ways for them to be able to interact with our business. And then we got to look out and see, what are all the industries we're not in that are blowing up. Alcohol.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's
where you at, man?
Yeah, I know. It's a pretty saturated industry from a media standpoint.
Sure.
But what about blockchain? What about cannabis? We're in discussions right now to acquire 2 different cannabis media brands.
Interesting.
So, we're going to be doing that, trying to find all these new markets that are in their infancy, that we can grow with them like we have for the last 100 years.
That's awesome. Do you feel, I don't know if I always, how much I really, dove into this thought, but I always thought as someone running a media company, you have a unique opportunity to shape public opinion, shape,
That's funny.
Well, it seems like if there's anyone besides our politicians and maybe talking heads, someone running a media corporation has the opportunity to really help or I guess at least consider or influence the way in which, people think about certain things. And, do you ever, think about that from the context of what you guys put out and the opportunity you have to be, maybe a better version of what a lot of people think, media is?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you just said it. Our opportunity is to differentiate ourselves from a lot of other media players and just tell the truth. Right? Just call it how it is. And, we open, talking about not getting into political. I'm so grateful that we never got into the daily news business. Commodity news. That's not our thing. Right? We want to talk about your business and talk about, what you're doing to expand and growth and, all of these things that people are interested in. The political side of it, I mean, they get so exhausted from it. So, yeah, I mean, we run a media company. It's a totally different media company than you think about, somebody that runs a dozen daily newspapers that's got a lot of opinion pages and a lot of columns in it. We want to stick to talking about the new innovation center that Ford's doing and the new Wi-Fi tower that Blake's put up on their property.
You said you serve 20 markets?
Yeah, 20 different industries.
20 different industries?
78 million people.
Wow. All started here, eh?
Actually, all started in Chicago. Yeah, that was our home base for a long time.
Okay.
It wasn't until 1971 when my dad got an opportunity to buy Automotive News. And it was losing a bunch of money, and it was so funny. We were like a hardcore Chicago family. And my dad was super into drag racing, very much into cars. He's got the car disease.
Yeah.
And he tells the story, went to my grandfather, and he's like, hey, there's this opportunity. We could buy this publication in Detroit. It's called Automotive News. My grandpa looks at him, and he's like, first of all, who the hell wants to move to Detroit? And second of all, who knows anything about cars?
Yeah.
And my dad's like, well, I know about cars. I'm super into cars. And he's like, fine, you got 1 year. So
you'll run it.
Yeah. You moved to Detroit. You got 1 year to turn it around. And, Keith was a hell of an operator and, did a great job. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Turned it into one of the strongest B2B media brands in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know that just the rapport that, that you all have in so many industries. And for us, as aspiring entrepreneurs in Metro Detroit, to get in Crains is always a big deal. I feel like there is a premiumness to your media brand, and was that always there? Has that been cultivated consciously, or is it just the result of you guys doing what you've done forever?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been kind of the core of what we've been doing for a really long time, and it's the journalism, right? It always goes back to those people. They work really hard. They cover their beats really well. I mean, it seems crazy, but the idea that we're just not fabricating anything, we're just telling it how it is. I mean, there's no bullshit in anything you read at Crains, right? I mean, I don't get calls where people are like annoyed that we made something up, or, I mean, the only thing they're really upset about is something they did.
Right.
So again, I think that's where that premiumness comes from is one, we value the journalism. So we're going to ask people to pay for the content. So that's a differentiator already.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it's the people. I mean, our employees, they pride themselves in the journalism. I mean, it rips through our whole company. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did you have any mentors, growing up in the industry, people you look to, companies you look to, and I guess kind of on the Crain side, are there businesses that you are really chasing after? I know it's not a lot of times true entrepreneurs don't want to say they're chasing after anyone. But are there businesses out there that you're like, I really like how they, in this space, how they operate?
Yeah.
Or have you beat them all and everyone's chasing you?
No, it's not. I mean, we're different, right? So in B2B, we've got a bunch of different brands, and every one of our brands has a different set of competitors.
Sure.
Right. So Automotive News is competing with a bunch of different dealer publications, or the Wall Street Journal when it comes to Ford and GM. Same with Modern Healthcare. They've got their own set of competitors in the healthcare field. For us, I'm just interested in constantly figuring out new ways to grow, new ways to serve our audiences. We've been working really hard over the last 4 or 5 years. We had a big family exit where my father's family bought out his brother and basically 50% of the company, which was a big consolidation of leadership for our family. That was only in 2017.
Sure.
So did a lot of cleanup over the last 4 years, made another acquisition in 2019, again in the genomic space. So we're now in the life sciences space.
Really?
So we can sit here and talk about DNA sequencing for the next hour if you'd like.
CRISPR and whatnot. I'm super geeked out into all things health. So yeah, I love that.
We'll get into that.
What's that publication, or what is that?
It's called Genome Web.
GenomeWeb.com.
So we bought a company that had no print. It's over $1,000 a subscription, and it serves people that are in either the lab field or the university field studying genomics.
Oh, that's awesome. One of the things that I feel like is going around mainstream media a lot right now is, talks around the economy, whether it's booming, it's about to bust, inflation, not. Do you have any sense from, you being so close to the ground of so many businesses, where we're really at as a nation?
Buy. No, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. People have been talking about this bubble for the last year and a half?
Yeah.
Last 2 years. I always tell people take advantage of it when it's good. Don't overextend. I mean, look at our industries. I mean, we're in Detroit. The car business, the car companies have never made more money. They're growing like crazy. They're investing. I mean, how many times have you heard a car company is going to invest another $5 billion in electrification?
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Car dealers are making a mint. There's no inventory. The chip shortage has shrunk their inventory.
Used cars have never been more expensive.
So, everybody's making a lot of money. The market's doing well. A little pullback this week, but, overall, it's been an incredible run. And I don't have any idea better than the next guy, what's going to happen. All I know is we're reporting on a lot of businesses making a lot of money and a hell of a lot of IPOs.
Yeah, well, I guess that's all good. So you're kind of a high-profile business guy.
So says you.
So says I. But I don't get out. Don't let it go to your head. I don't get out of the farm very much, so I don't see it. But when you're trying to operate at a high level, do you do you into any exercise, fitness, things that kind of stay mind, body, spirit? You got any regiments that you kind of follow, or is it work, and work?
No, it's important. I mean, 2019, I think I traveled 140 days. So okay. I'm on the road a ton. You got to exercise. I mean, you can really get caught into that. We do so many conferences. That was another thing with COVID. In 2019, we did almost 200 different conferences around the world. So
that you guys actually put on, hosted.
Crain hosted.
Yep, Crain hosted.
Yeah. So anything from a 2-day, full ballroom event to a small breakfast to a 20,000 person trade show.
Wow.
So 200 of those. In 2020, we did 965 virtual events.
That's insane.
It was insane. So back to your question. Yeah, 2019, I was on the road a ton. I try and exercise, like you, get a run in when you can.
Right.
Have a pretty, solid trainer schedule and just try and stick to it as much as you can.
Yeah.
I got 4 little kids too, so that keeps me.
That keeps you. I'm expecting my first this week.
You're kidding. Congratulations.
Yeah, Wednesday is the due date. My wife actually was just at the doctor, so any day now. So
you know what we're having?
A baby girl.
Baby girl?
Yeah.
I have 4 daughters.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Girl dad.
Girl dad. Big time girl
dad.
Right.
I remember when I was, on the road for hard cider, it was just this little, we have like a 45,000 square foot production facility back here now. It started off in like 5,000 square foot, like room like this. And I was hand selling and I was on the road. My favorite movie growing up was Tommy Boy. So, I kind of always channeled that inner energy. Yeah. And, I think pre-COVID, I was actually doing, I think I was averaging like 2 flights a week, for, pre-COVID, and then kind of COVID hit, and now, it's a little less. It's, getting back to, more travel, but, it was really heavy. COVID kind of came, paused it, and it was kind of a nice pause for a minute. You don't realize how wearing, that is on you after a while.
Yeah, or how much work my wife actually does.
Yeah.
Holy
right.
smokes.
Yeah, exactly. We touched on it a little bit, but, when you look at Crains and you look at, the evolution 10 years from now, do you see yourselves getting in anything outside of media or anything that's not kind of the bread and butter of kind of what we'd consider traditional media?
So one of the coolest things that, affords me in a family business being able to work with my brother.
Yeah.
And we're super close partners, totally different types of operators. So I love being in the business, dealing with people, doing all that. He is maybe one of the most intelligent investment people you're going to find.
Sure.
So he runs our Crain Investment Fund.
Okay.
And that's turned into a very natural way to diversify the business.
Sure.
So we're investing in all different kinds of things outside of the company.
Okay, great.
In a lot of the different topics that I talked about. So
Sure.
not only can we look at starting a media brand there, but maybe we also invest in some of the businesses there. So that's been a really nice evolution that way. When it comes to the media, what's media anymore, right?
I've been trying to figure that out because I see so many businesses. As I kind of look at us as a people brand, right? I think we get second to Comerica Park, the most visitors, in Metro Detroit.
You're kidding me?
Yeah, we get 2 million visitors a year.
Wow.
But we're a family brand. We're in the business of making memories. Our tagline, our tagline's "Making Memories" is always in season. So
I love that.
And I think about media. And I keep trying to, play with the idea of what does media mean for us. You look at some brands that actually become their own, if not media, I guess, content creation, not necessarily news source, but.
Well, where are we right now? Are we in a bar?
We're in a bar.
At an orchard?
Talking
on a podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
It's media.
So it's media, right? Yeah. And
are you trying to compete with us?
I don't think we can. I don't think we got the chops for it.
These guys are pretty good. I don't know.
They're all right. Yeah, they're good. But it is something that we explore. I always saw the opportunity here to, people come here to, I don't want to say escape, but they come here to, forget about out there, get connected to the natural world, get connected to, their roots. I always saw a big opportunity in, children's media, whether it's cartoons, books. We have, these different worlds that we can live in on over 1,000 acres. So I hate to say it's like a country Disney world, but aspirationally something like that. And
sure.
So I've always played with the idea of trying to integrate media more as a business. But you see the likes of Barstool, where people actually are starting to trust certain brands, more than traditional media. So it's an interesting landscape as you think about what happened.
It's also, it's not polarizing. It's not political. It's a little more easy.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get you, the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. So.
And I got to tell you, the day started early. We're downtown. We're in the city. All the rigmarole that goes with that. We were doing some of this earlier. And then 50 minutes. Look where I am right now.
Yeah. And that's the thing people don't realize. And I think
talk about an escape.
Yeah. And one of the reasons we're blessed is, we're 40 minutes from, millions and millions of people, but, we're right kind of at the wall where, the city and suburbs stop and, country kind of starts. So we're not far enough away to be completely, isolationist, but,
sure.
close enough for people
Where's
to feel
the helipad? Is it over?
Oh, it's right out back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it just takes you like 5 minutes to get
you
to
didn't see the airport right down the way? That's,
that's Blake's airport.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we fly out of there. So
Love it.
Yeah. Well, Casey, thank you for coming on. Big fan of everything you do and appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man, so
No
appreciate
worries.
you coming out.
Am I getting a tour?
Yeah, we're doing the tour next.
All right, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can find Everything Borrowed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Show your support and drop a 5-star review to help more people find our channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay up to date with us on Facebook, Instagram, and everythingborrowedpodcast.com. EBP is produced by Chelsea Cox, Jason Brown, and Vox Adams. Edited and filmed by Nick Ferguson. Art is by Adam Yarborough. Everything Borrowed is an after-hours media production. Copyright 2021.